Let's introduce our let's introduce our guest today, Mr. Kelly M. A little bit about Kelly. He's 43 years old. Always wanted a son, and this year he was actually blessed with that gift. So thank you. You want to say hi to the listeners, Kelly?
Hey, Matt. Thank you for having me on the show today. And just a big shout out to everybody that's out there listening. Thank
Hey,
you.
thank you for coming. You guys are in for a treat today. Kelly's got a good message here, and I hope you enjoy it. So the way we start off every show, what's one thing you're grateful for today, and why?
Well, today, Matt, one of the things I'd say I'm grateful for is it's a choice. Today, I'm free to make a choice of what I want to do and what I don't want to do. Um, Big choice of that is not being alone anymore. So it's kind
Awesome.
of a two for one there, but it's my choice now if I want to be alone or not. I don't have that feeling anymore.
I can totally get that too. And as we get healthier, that we get to choose who we want in our life. We're not always just kind of seeking attention or acceptance, right? That we get to choose who we want to be a part of our life.
Definitely.
Awesome. So I'd like to touch on, at the beginning, want to share with us a little bit about what your family life was like, upbringing, siblings.
Okay. Yeah. So my family was, I always branded them as we were the Brady Bunch. Um, my family was the cool family. Parents were both popular with my friends and my sister's friend. I only had one sister. She's a year and a half older than me. And dad worked one job his whole life. Mom worked three jobs, giving us, so we had a really good upbringing. My mom worked a 9 to 5, and then she would work at part time at a clothing store so we could get all the good clothes we wanted. Then she also worked part time at a jewelry store so we could get blinged out.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Yeah, my sister, she was great. We were best friends growing up until we were probably about 16. Then she moved out of the house early, so then I was on my own.
Hmm, cool. Um, Next question that I have is, what was the first time you ever did drugs or drinking? What was your introduction like?
Well, I guess the first time would just be I come from a large family. My mom has 13 brothers and sisters. So starting at the family weddings and things like that, there was always, I think, 20, 30 of us cousins. And yeah, for sure, we probably started maybe like 10, 11.
So would you guys sneak it, or did you have relatives that would kind of encourage? Because I know time we're similar in age, where people thought it was okay or acceptable to kind of feed children alcohol. Was that your situation?
For sure. It was one of the family laughters, the uncles, you know. It was nothing for them to slip us things and just make us go. And we did.
Fair enough. From that age, at what point, like, would you say that you started doing drugs or wanting to do it yourself? Like, you had the desire yourself to drink or drug?
I know for me, it started at 14, for sure.
So high school.
Yeah. Um, I always looked at my mom. She worked a lot. My dad worked, and so I started working as well. I was a great student. You know, I was always straight A's. Didn't have to study. School was easy. I was on all the sports teams, and there was just something about that lifestyle that attracted me.
Do you want to elaborate a little bit more? Like, what was your introduction then? Was it always just alcohol, or did you start with drugs, like hanging around with that crowd in school?
At the school level, drugs actually weren't that popular. There was always that one pothead group and things like that we stayed away from, that stigma. But I was always drawn to the older crowd. My sister was, like I had said earlier, a year and a half, almost 2 years older than me. So it was natural for me to watch what she did, and then I want to be part of that. So hanging out with the older crowd, I got mixed in. It was at work, you know. I started working in the restaurants when I was 14, and the restaurants, it's a lifestyle. And if you want to join them, you join them. If you're not, then you're not part of.
There's a few different industries like that. I worked in the oil patch and it was kind of similar. And I heard different sales too, different sales positions, car sales and things like that. Just rumor. I don't know for sure, but I've heard different stories about the car sales industry and stuff like that. So moving ahead a little bit, what was the progression like then? Or How did things progress?
The progression was slow and steady. I always found myself, I was always the first one to start, then always the last one to stop. Um, Probably by the time I was 16, it was something that was regular. Maybe even 15. You know, my parents really liked that I worked. They gave me the keys to the vehicle. They said, "You're responsible. You can drive yourself to work." So that allowed me to stay after hours. And after hours is where the fun starts anywhere. And it started daily use then.
What was your drug of choice then?
Back then, it started with alcohol, and then it gradually moved over to more of anything, you know, the white devil. And then when that wasn't enough, then you need something to come down. And then after coming down, you need to go back up.
So that was kind of like the cycle, right? Was it something you kind of did every weekend, or you said daily?
Usually daily. The drinking 100% daily, and then the uppers for sure. During a rush, after a rush, get things done, to have things slow down, get ready for the day, get ready for the night. It's just something that's habitual and routine.
At what point, like, would you first say, you know, what you thought you might have been having a problem with it, or that it seemed a little excessive? How old were you, and kind of where were you at in your life at that point?
For me, I know what at 17, I had my first chance. I wasn't sure what it was at the time. Um, Back then, I just thought it was an out of body experience. Today, when I look back at it, I call it was a spiritual awakening. I was sitting at work, and after a big, long party weekend, and I was just sitting on the toilet at the staff bathroom, and I just looked down and I saw myself hung, sitting on the toilet, just lost and washed out. And I remember looking at myself saying, you know, this isn't who I am. This isn't what I want to do. And after that, you know, not too long after that, well, to get rid of that feeling, you got to jump on the wagon again.
What was your introduction to recovery? Because I can relate to that too. Like when I was 21, I was using every day. I was staying up. Like I got hurt at work, um, and then I was staying up 4 or 5 days every day, and I was living a life. I just used to tell myself this isn't what I want. I just didn't know how to get away from it. Um, what did you do from that point? Like
Well,
when you had that moment of clarity?
I didn't have that moment of clarity for another like years down the road. I'm going to say probably like when I was 28 or 29. You know, up until then, the more I did was I was more funnier, I was more stronger, I was faster, smarter. I was just living on top of the world, and so there's really no consequences. And then I guess what I learned was there was no consequences yet.
Yeah,
And at 28, I was married. I was had the house, the vehicles, and then the yet started to come in, and I started. At that time, I thought I was losing things with a run of bad luck, but no. Today I realized I was giving them away.
makes sense. In that period of time, you know, what were some of your most memorable things where you're looking back and you just kind of shake your head maybe that you can't believe you did it?
Well, I always look back saying, you know, to me, when I look back thinking what an addict was somebody that was shooting up the needle behind a dumpster and or with the brown paper bag sitting on the street. And I'm like, you know what? I remember cruising down 118 or Jasper, looking at those people and saying, you know, I'll never be you guys. You suck. And once I was there myself,
Yeah.
that's when I had my first realization.
Did you seek out help at that time, or did you know help was available?
At that time, I didn't understand. I didn't know what addiction was. I didn't know I had a problem. I do know that I got a ride to detox, and when I was in detox, I didn't think I belonged there. I thought it was a mistake. I thought, you know, maybe I just was overworked. I was having a little, maybe a nervous breakdown. So after a week, 10 days of getting some food in me and things like that, I was back to work and back to the regular lifestyle.
Did you go to like who took you to detox? Like was that your choice or was that somebody else who kind of I don't know, when was that your choice, I guess?
100%, it was not my choice. I remember the first one or two times was my mom's choice. Second time or third time, that was my dad. Then I remember my stepdad took me a few times. My ex-wife. I remember some girlfriends got me there, and I think within that 2 3 year stretch, I ended up my Italian. It was 15 times in the detox.
Well, did you ever try any post detox recovery centers like in those 15 times or just
I did a 30-day run at Bonneville, and that was a beautiful co-ed facility. And what I got out of there was miraculous. I thought I found my soulmate.
funny? Yeah, the rehab romance, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
Um,
I
you
could
know,
relate to that one actually. I don't mean to interrupt you here. Sorry. Like when I went to counseling and I had to go to a treatment facility, I got forced myself and I asked for a co-ed one. I got an all male one. 21 days all male.
that's good. I wish on knowing now what I did now, but back then, no thanks. I was there for the girls, and I got exactly what I put in there and what I wanted, and that was not a new way of life.
Yeah. After you got out of there, did you pick up right away? Like it was like you had no intention on stopping in any of those times, or did you give it an honest go?
I gave it an honest thought. I knew I had wanted to. After that 30 days, I did feel different. I felt happy and excited. Um, I also was sharing that experience with the girl that I met there, and she felt the same way. However, for her, it lasted a week, that feeling, and then she went back out, to which I lasted about a week and 2 days, and then I joined her.
Funny how that works, right? Like, what was the expressions that someone can pull you down but can't bring you back up? Or,
True story, man, 100%.
um, what was your bottom? What did your bottom look like? Or what would you consider your bottom?
My bottom was, it took, I was in a 1 year treatment facility, and it was my third time in there. And one of the counselors finally looked at me and said, "What are you doing here?" And I said, "I don't belong here. I'm different. I'm not like everybody else." I said, "I don't have a problem with rules and society and things, but I just necessarily don't think they belong or they apply to me." And I said, "I still have my looks. I still, have no problem with the girls and everything." And she just finally just spat her coffee out and said, "What the fuck do you have to offer somebody? You're sick. You're using people. You're using women. You need to take a hard look at yourself." And at that time, I remember I looked in the mirror. She made me look. I was 150 pounds. I was wearing women's belt. I had a size 28 waist, and today I'm 250 pounds,
It's a big difference, eh?
So I don't know. I had that one little twinkle, something clicked in when I was staring there, and thank God it did click in.
Nice. What did I want to ask you here? At that point, was that your final time? Like when you got clean?
That was my
That 1 year?
that was my second time in that treatment facility, and I got kicked out. And after I had a 30-day kick out, I came back and I realized, I don't think it's everybody else's problem. I think it's a Kelly problem. I think it's me. It's not bad luck. It's not everybody picking on me. I had lost everything. All I had was the clothes on my back.
I can relate to that one. I had a bicycle, backpack, and a jacket with 6 pockets, and what I could carry, that's all I owned. Yeah. So was that defeat at that point? Did you find like was that the point? Is that your clean date today?
The clean date that I have today, it's February 5th. And the reason why I have that clean date is one of my friends, while I was in treatment, I was out house sitting for my parents. They were gone to Hawaii on a trip. So they asked me to house sit for them for a week. And I'm like, yeah, this is going to be awesome. I'll have a little party and I'll have 6 days to get everything back. Then I went to 5 days, then to four, three, two. On that last day, I had a friend from the fellowship come and pick me up off the ground, take me to the hospital. And that's really when 100% I tapped out. I had nothing left.
Yeah. What was want to tell us about the first step, like powerless? You know. What's powerless to you? Because you've been through it a lot, like going to detox a few times. You went, and obviously, step one clicked this time for you as the powerless. What did that look like to you?
Admitting I was powerless was a big step. I'm a control freak. I like to know what's happening, what's going on, who's doing what. I need to know everything in control because I don't like surprises, and I just need to be in the know. When I finally admitted I was powerless, um, that meant, that I was surrendering not only just to the addiction, but to people, places, and things that, what I'm doing is just running myself to the ground. So I couldn't steer my own bus anymore.
Makes sense. Let's go like we'll kind of go through that first year. What was the first year like to you?
The first year, I have no idea how I managed to put that together. Some of the things that did help at that time, I I resented a lot of people, and I had tried recovery before, and people had more clean time than me. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna fucking not use, not because I don't want to, but because I know if I don't use long enough, that I'm gonna start surpassing some of these people.
So it's kind of out of spite.
Definitely.
Hey, it worked.
And I'd say that spite for those people, it worked for about a year. And then after that, I realized, hey, that maybe there's more to this.
So just a random question: are you friends with those people today, or do you talk to those people? Did they know that they were your inspiration?
Some of the people, yeah.
That's
I'd like to say, unfortunately, everybody's still in there, but yeah, what I wanted was to surpass people, and that was just that was wrong. I did pass some of them, but some of them died. Not a lot of people are still in the program when I came in there 10 years ago.
yeah. I don't know if anybody I never stayed in touch with anybody at the treatment facility I went to, so I don't know if anybody stayed sober. Uh, I thought it was just kind of a ramble. I'll be cutting that one out.
Yeah, no, that's all good.
um, so, what were some goals you had that first year? Like, this is the part that we're gonna start getting a recovery. This is the part that gets me excited. Is what were some goals you set that first year?
Some of the goals that I set weren't high enough. I said a few things like I wanted to be happy. I wanted to be able to trust myself. Okay. Some of the basic easy things were one is like I wanted to be able to eat a meal without shitting myself. I wanted to be able to go somewhere without getting the sweats and wanting to take off and peel the skin off my face. Some of the goals that I set was I wanted my family to trust me and my friends.
Did it take long to achieve some of those, or some took longer than others?
Definitely. And some of my long term friends, they didn't really understand. They're there to support me, but they're like, no, it's Maisie. He'll go back to it. My family, they didn't get it for years, like 4 or 5 years. They just assumed, hey, you know what? He's been here, done that before. This will be no different. Their answer was just, hey, just don't use,
Yeah,
and I always say, shit, why didn't I think of that? I've been just doing this all wrong the whole time.
yeah. If only it was that easy, eh? Like,
Yeah,
but the trick is to stay away from that first one, no matter what, right?
always.
That's a trick. Um, what are some of the goals you got today? Now, like how long? What's your clean day? How much time? Can you tell the listeners where you're at or how long you have in the program right now?
So just in February 5th, I took my 10 year.
Congratulations.
And in that 10 year, I think I've realized, like I'd said, when I first came into the program, I set some goals, and within the first 5 years, I hit them all. And I'm like, I kind of plateaued and sold myself short. I'm like, Jesus Christ, I hit these goals. Now what? And it took me another 2, 3 years to set some higher ones. So things like one, I wanted to get my house back. I wanted to be able to have credit. I wanted to drive. I wanted to have a job. I wanted to pay my taxes for fuck's sake. So I didn't want to. One of the big ones is I wanted to answer my cell phone when it was a private name.
I can relate with that one.
That was huge. When I started to do that, I'm like, I'm gonna be okay.
It's funny, like it's that isn't that a great feeling? Like you feel like a responsible member of society at that point where you're like, I can do this. you
Yeah.
know, like I'm sure there's lots of listeners out there that want that's a great goal to be able to achieve when you get to it. It's pretty amazing, actually.
100%.
Um, okay. Do you have any mentors?
I do. Um, when I first came in, I met a lot of people. I asked a lot of wrong people to help me. I just assumed because people in recovery that everybody wanted your is there for your best interest, but like we're sick people helping sick people. So learning for me to learn who I could trust and who was good for me and who wasn't. It took a while, but I got it done.
Cool. What's your relationship with your family like today?
Today, my relationship with my family, it's amazing. Um, I went from being the outcast and not trusted to one of the a huge pillar, a lot of support from my family. Um, my parents are just like anybody else. They have good and bad, and things happen to them. What I've learned in recovery, the tools and things, is how to cope with them, and I share that with them freely.
How do you feel about feelings today?
Some days feelings still suck.
Cheers to that.
um, Before I used to drown them out. Once I took that out, I realized, I just got to feel my feelings, and that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, people have heard me share on the show before is that feeling face chart that sat on my fridge for a year, and I had to go over every time I was feeling something different or I didn't know what it was. I had to like go over to the fridge and start and look and try and like, what am I feeling today? And just took practice to realize to identify them all.
Yeah, those are big steps. Learning, instead of just feeling just anger and then feeling just sad. Today through the program and things, I've learned that each feeling is identified by different parts of our body.
You want to elaborate on that one?
Well, I'm sure when we all can remember when you've done something horrible, something shitty, and your parents caught you or the cops catch you, and you get that shit your pants feeling in your gut. Okay, that's scared. That's remorse, right? That's just one feeling in your stomach. I'm sure we've all been in love. We felt that in our heart. That warmth. You know, that's just two of them. But there's a lot more than where that came from.
There sure is. Um, what do I want to ask you? Relapse. Do you think it's planned or pre-planned?
I think for relapse, 100% is planned. Unfortunately, people just don't understand that they're the ones planning it, and they're usually the last ones to find out.
Yeah, I agree with that one. So mine was, after 10 years, I probably planned it for 2 years before I actually pulled a pin and did it. Yeah.
100%, yeah.
Self-care. How do you do that?
Self care.
Yeah, what does that look like?
Well, I've gone through lots of different periods as a good addict. Self care, I thought, maybe I'm just going to go to church. So I went to church like every day, all day. After that, I decided, maybe I need to eat healthy. So I went vegan for a while. I went gluten free for a while. Um, I went all in. Then I realized, maybe exercise is good. So I went from the 250, I shredded down to 215. Then, like, I want to be back big. So I went bigger. I'm like, maybe then I started to learn about balance, about that self care. And today's self care could be just me sitting in my truck. A lot of the time is sitting in the Hummer, pounding my music.
Cool. What are you passionate about today?
Ooh, that's a good one.
That's why I like to ask these.
Passionate. I'm passionate about, wow, holy.
You want me to come back to that one?
I think, when I'm definitely passionate about giving back to the community.
What do you do?
Um, One of the things that I learned, I always just thought, you have to change the world is you needed money, right? Um, but there's the small things that turn into the big things. Giving back to the community is things like, opening that door for a senior, opening it for somebody that's got their hands full, or maybe standing in the lineup in the grocery store and paying it forward, buying somebody's groceries without them knowing. One of the big things that I really like doing is when I go out for supper with my family or my friends. Um, I used to pick out a table that I'd buy their meal and keep it anonymous, and then now I just let the servers. I like them just to go and pick somebody for me.
Oh, nice. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. What was one of your biggest misconceptions or misbeliefs or misconceptions? I'm trying to find the right word for this. Like when you came into recovery, if that makes sense. What's your biggest misconception coming into recovery? Something you thought and then found out that was totally bullshit.
Well, when I first came in, I thought people that were ahead of me that had more clean time than me, what they said was gospel, was word. And one of the most hurtful things that happened, oh shit, it was in the I was had 4 years to the good, and I remember there was a girl again involved, and she had 10 years clean, and I had expressed interest in her for a long time, and she just used me. She fucked and chucked me. And I was completely devastated. I'm like, there is no way that somebody in recovery with 10 fucking years is going to do that. That just blew my mind.
I guess you can kind of take that as a compliment, maybe, right?
Oh, I don't know. It didn't feel like it, but I definitely learned.
That's funny. You got anything on your bucket list that you're looking to cross off here?
Yeah, my bucket list has grown. Part of that goal setting was making that bucket list and crossing them off. Um, I've done bungee jumping. I've done skydiving. I've done deep sea fishing or deep sea diving. Um, I started vacationing in the last 5 years, and I love doing. I never thought I could go to an all inclusive resort. I thought, there's no way I could make it without drinking, but I love them. I love the resorts. I don't have to drink. None of that. I don't really care anymore. But a bucket list is I've been building is working on crossing off all the sandals locations. That is the best resort in the world, and so far in the last 3 years, I've knocked off 6 sandals resorts.
Nice. Nice. Where's the next one you're going? What's the plan for the next one?
St. Lucia,
Which is where?
um, St. Lucia, I had it booked. It's over in the Caribbean islands. I had it set before COVID hit,
Okay.
and when that came, that
Fucking
just
COVID.
screwed it all up.
God damn it. Um, Tell me. So in the introduction, we talked about being 43. Not to drop your age again, but becoming a dad. What was that feeling like? Because that's a gift to recovery right there.
It's
You know.
huge. At 43 years old, I'm still looking back, and it's a surreal moment. Little man's 4.5 months, and I still catch myself thinking, is this really happened? Is this my son? Um, when I first realized I had a problem, I didn't. I still today I don't wish addiction on my worst enemy. I really don't. It's a son of a bitch. And I said, you know what? I'll never have a child. I'll never bring another child into this world because I don't want to pass down. I don't want him or her to go through what I've gone through. You know, and I've realized that just because that was my choice, it's not going to be my son's choice.
How are you going to kind of educate them, or what? Like when you say that, like how do you see doing things different as a parent compared to being parented?
Well, I look back at my parents and I know they raised me the best that they could.
Yeah.
And nothing that my choices was a result from them. It was myself. So changing my relationship, with my son would be being an open book. Wow, just gonna roll with it. Shit, that's not a good answer. We'll dub that one out.
I had a buddy, and you probably know him there. He used to say as a parent, he's like, you just can't get it wrong. There is no fucking rule book to this. We do the best we can with what we got, right? And as long as you're not beating them and starving them, you can't get it wrong, right? One thing as a father, one thing that I'm teaching my kids is accountability. If you got to lie about it, you probably shouldn't be doing it. Encouraging the feelings a bit too, and just healthy ways to deal with feeling shitty, right?
Yeah,
Just to validate them as a person, right? Like that, it's okay. I listened to other podcasts too, and one thing it said, and this was something I learned and I never thought of it before, is kids usually hear the answer no or stop doing that like 8 times more than they hear praise or good things, right? And so as a kid at that age, they only know how to be authentic, their authentic selves, right? And for us to constantly tell them no or don't be doing that really takes away from them. So I'm trying to learn like to encourage them more or appreciate them as themselves, or just, being, like I said, be accountable to their choices or make good choices. Um, yeah, it's just something that I heard, or fun
yeah,
fact, I guess, right? So,
yeah. That's good. I like it. I like it.
um, what do I, last question. Um, got any regrets?
One of my big regrets for recovery was selling myself short on what the meaning of the fellowship, what that really meant. I did have a lot of attitude, feeling that I was different and better than a lot of people. And so I stuck to myself and I sold myself short. That fellowship is there and we never have to be alone again. Um, Go ahead.
Oh no, I
Oh,
was just going.
oh, that fellowship is big. That's the people and the friends that you make there. I trust addicts today more than I trust my own family. You know, an addict can just look at me and they know what's going on just with a look or the way I'm carrying myself. So mixing and building those connections inside those rooms, that's what really saved me out of a lot of jams.
I totally, that's one thing I actually count my blessings for today too, is that fellowship. Is I feel fucking blessed that we have a place to go, that we can go and they can't really kick us out. Where normies, quote unquote normies, aren't so lucky. Like if they're alone, they're kind of alone, but I never have that. I have the choice today to not be alone if I choose, right? And going back, like you said at the beginning too, the friends or the people that we get to choose in our life today is pretty amazing. What's one of the greatest gifts you've had in recovery since getting clean? What's your greatest gift, you would say?
One of the best gifts I've had is being able to be just comfortable with self and being able to just to sit in the moment and do nothing and be okay with it.
That takes practice,
A lot.
eh? Yeah, that was a different question I, sometimes ask is, can you be alone without being lonely?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, I remember early recovery and like my whole life, all I wanted to do was feel heard. I wanted to be part of. And to me, I thought that meant, that I had to be with a popular crowd. I had to be surrounded by lots of people and things. But being alone was really hurt is when I was alone and being away from myself. And once I started to learn who I was, why I did the things I did, I realized that it's okay to be alone. And I like myself today.
nice.
Before I was always ashamed and embarrassed and scared. I was scared what the hell I was going to do.
You can look in the mirror, no problem today.
That took a lot of years to be able to look in the mirror, but today I can. Yeah.
Nice, nice. I think we're gonna wrap this up at this point. What's something you want to leave the listeners? Like, what's something you want them to remember?
Coming into the rooms in the fellowship, I had no idea what to expect. I didn't know what Narcotics Anonymous meant. That was a really scary word. Narcotics Anonymous, it taught me how to be a man, taught me how to be a son, taught me how to be a father, how to be a productive member of society. and the cliches and the sayings. I guess, they're not cliches, they're sayings. Don't leave before the miracle does. Um, just for today, all the sayings, and I'm like, you know what? Every fucking meeting, we say the same thing over and over and over, and I'm like, why? This is so I don't understand. Because one day it clicked, and all those sayings that we would say, I realized that I didn't understand it, but today I live those sayings, and those sayings is what keeps me clean today.
Nice, nice. Uh, well, that's all I really got. I just want to say thank you for spending this last half hour with us, almost 40 minutes of time, and sharing your truth with us. I really appreciate it. And hopefully we can get you back on the show here in another year or so, and kind of give all the listeners an update as to where life's at, how the little man's doing, what
Definitely,
it's like being a father. And yeah, I really appreciate the time that you spent with us today.
definitely. Well, thanks again, and good luck with everybody else.
Awesome. Thank you. For the rest of you, I just want to leave you with this: make lots of memories, take lots of pics, and show the world your smile. Thanks for hanging out with us today.